Mecca apparently was uninhabited during ancient times. Up to Muhammad's time, Mecca had never been recorded in any ancient history. The following prominent Roman and Greek geographers and historians visited and explored the Arabian Peninsula, yet they never mentioned Mecca or the Kaaba even once. Herodotus 450 to 420 BC wrote about Arabian cities. Theophrastus 4th century BC wrote about Sabian, Arabian and Yemeni societies. Eratosthenes 3rd century BC wrote about locations along the Arabian side of the Red Sea and about Arabian societies. Agatharchides 2nd century BC wrote about Arabian cities and temples along the Red Sea. Strabo 1st century BC wrote about Arabian tribes and cities in central and western Arabia and about locations along the Red Sea. Pliny the Elder 1st century BC wrote about 92 regions, cities and tribes of Arabia, but did not mention Mecca. Ptolemy 1st century AD listed all the cities and regions of Arabia, but did not mention Mecca. Muslims claim that the city of Macca mentioned in Ptolemy's geography was actually Mecca, but Macca could not be Mecca, since Ptolemy wrote that Macca was the 6th city south of Yathrib, and further south than Karna, the capital city of Ma'in, a kingdom in Yemen. No trace of pre-Islamic Mecca can be found, neither in archaeology nor in inscriptions, scrolls, and reliefs from the ancient empires that conquered Arabia. The Roman Empire attacked western Arabia along the Red Sea in 23 BC. The Assyrian Empire conquered northern Arabia in the 8th and 7th centuries BC. The Babylonian Empire conquered the Hijaz under King Nabonidus 556 to 539 BC. The Persian Empire conquered northern Arabia during the Achaemenid era 6th century BC. No ancient city or country in the Middle East failed to leave remnants of inscriptions, buildings or archaeological objects. For instance, remnants of Dedan, northern Arabia, 9th century BC. Remnants of Khaybar, western Arabia, 8th century BC. Remnants of Tema, northern Arabia, 1st century BC. Stone carving from an ancient palace at Shabwa, the capital city of Hadramaut, Yemen, southern Arabia, 8th century BC to the 3rd century AD. Palace of Petra, carved out solid rock by the Nabateans, Jordan, 2nd century BC. Seal of the Dilmun Kingdom, Eastern Arabia, 3rd century BC. Inscription of the Sabaeans, 1st century BC. Remnants of the Dilmun Kingdom, 3rd century BC. Ancient port of Marib, Ma'in, Kingdom of Yemen, 1st century BC. Inscription of the Magan Kingdom, southeastern Arabia, 3rd to 2nd century BC. Mahram Bilqus Temple, Marib, 1st century BC. Remnants of ancient kingdom Magan, southeastern Arabia, 3rd to 2nd century BC. Ancient dam of Marib, Ma'in, Kingdom, Yemen, 1st century BC. Prophet Moses explains, if the city of Mecca and the Kaaba existed since Abraham's era, it would be impossible for a city inhabited for over 2,000 years not to leave a single trace. Archaeological findings from the ancient Middle East are abundant since the area is arid, so nature does not destroy historical monuments or objects as quickly as elsewhere. Thus, an examination by Muslims of the purported historical information in the Quran is long overdue. In the Torah I mentioned many tribes, cities and countries of the Middle East, and I surely would have mentioned Mecca and the Kaaba if Abraham had been there. Since there was no city anywhere near Mecca in ancient times, that area was uninhabited. Camels need to drink at least every 100 miles. Without any city within 100 miles of Mecca, it is not likely that Mecca was a caravan stop until a century or two before Islam. Abraham never stepped foot in Mecca. The Bible explains that Abraham lived last in Hebron, the main city in southern Canaan, until he died and was buried in the cave of Machpelah, Genesis 25:9, near Hebron, 1,000 miles from Mecca. Abraham said, I came from Ur, a major city in Mesopotamia, and I stayed last in Hebron in southern Canaan. I and my family went to Egypt only to avoid a famine in Canaan, Genesis 12:10-20, and then we returned to Hebron. If I had built Mecca in the 19th century BC, that would make me the first builder of any city in Arabia. If this were true, such a great achievement would have become family lore and would have been recorded by Moses in the Torah. Ishmael said, but the Torah never mentions it. All the prophets of the Old Testament never said anything about it as well. Hagar said, after Abraham ordered me and Ishmael to leave, we drank from a well at Beersheba, Genesis 21:14-21, not from the Zamzam well at Mecca, which is 1,000 miles south of Beersheba. It would take months to walk from Hebron to Mecca, and it would be impossible for us to cross the desert. It was not possible for us to carry enough water to walk 1,000 miles. Moreover, Muhammad's grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, only dug the Zamzam well in the 7th century AD, well over 2 millennia after my father's era. I continuously stayed in the Paran desert, Genesis 21:21, near Hebron, south of Canaan. When my father passed away, I immediately attended his funeral at Machpelah cave near Hebron, Genesis 25:9. I couldn't do that if I lived in Mecca, 1,000 miles away from Hebron. Hebrew tradition and the weather conditions of Canaan obligated the family to bury Abraham's body the same day he died. I'm not of Arab descent, Genesis 25:12-18. The tribes descended from me still lived in Canaan and Sinai until the 10th century BC. Then they dispersed, and there is no record of them after the 7th century BC. Without doubt, any genealogy connecting Muhammad to me is contrived. Ibn Ishaq listed 40 generations between Ishmael and Muhammad. Apparently, he didn't realize that 40 generations were not enough to cover the 2,600-year span.